Which book would you pick out of the first 10 episodes as having the most influence on you?
I read this, now when I originally read this was quite a long time ago, which was Principles, Ray Dalio. I bought it when it first came out in 2017, tail end of 2017, I think that's when it was. And I pretty much picked it up straight away and read it straight away. Mind you, it took me quite a while to get through it. I would just say, first of all, the benchmark that he has set, and maybe again, he might also be a ceiling, similar to what we were talking about with Goggins, in terms of his hurt locker zone, let's call it that. In terms of Dalio's principles zone, I think he maybe has set a ceiling in terms of how far you can take this. But there's a lot of good that can come from it. And so I think just looking at things in a bit more of a systematic, structured way. And I do get told time to time that I'm quite systematic and structured as it is.
It probably appeals to us because we're engineers anyway.
It's a very engineering way of thinking.
Yeah.
This first and then this and then this.
Yeah. Pain plus reflection equals progress. Finally, a formula for life.
I've worked out the answer.
Yeah.
And so that for me has been great. And it, not just the act of principles, but there's some great principles themselves within that book.
And the bit on his biography is cool too in that book.
Yeah, it's a great little rags to riches story almost.
Yeah.
You?
For me, it's the Black Swan. And not just that, but I've now through 2 of his other books in the Incerto series, and I've got 2 to go. But the whole thing just totally changed my perspective on the world and let me understand the world better. And the themes that run through those books weave their way through everything else, I reckon. You can find them in all 10 books. The complex, how to act in a complex situation and non-complex, things that happen out of the blue, and just how to deal with the different types of scenarios you meet in the world. I think it weaves through everything. I don't find him that necessarily, his writing is a bit hard to stomach sometimes, but he's just like, his ideas are so good that it doesn't matter.
So I love the way he writes. I don't like the way he gives a speech. I think he's belligerent. I think it comes off in the way he writes. There's a combative piece that sometimes pulls you back, but I love he pulls in like these random stories or random people or personas and quite often there's a real translation to them.
I love that Nero and Fat Tony and everything. And talking about weaving through the episodes, I think that Principles and the Black Swan, they all weave through most of the other stuff we've talked about, like the Naval episode, Let My People Go Surfing, particularly Range and Jiro work through the complex and the non-complex and kind of how to deal with those 2 type of situations.
Yeah, well, you're looking at like Range is down one end of the scale and Jiro's at the other end of the scale in terms of this mastery space.
Yeah.
Right? But they've kind of come to the same place because the Range, when you're operating across all these, you've built up to this many different domains of thinking and looking at the world, you realize how complex it is. And then you go into Jiro's space, and because he's gotten to such fine detail and nuance around how he does things, he's in a complex world himself, right? They're different environments. Yeah. They're different ecosystems. Don't get me wrong. One's what you could probably call a harsh operating environment, and one's kind of a safer operating environment, much closer to playing a game. There's more, there's less variables.
Maybe closed or open.
Yeah.
Making sushi every day is more closed, more like playing chess, more repeatable. The Range is the random environment.
Yes. And I think pulling those 2 together, there's a lot of similarities.
Yeah, and regardless, iterative learning is important, but how much weight you put on different things in different environments is important. So the iterative learning in Jiro, you're going to be able to repeat that over and over and over again for the skills that he's learning and hone in further. For range, it's more about you need to be iterative but ready, more open for things to change rapidly.